Hello, it's Rich Rosen, founder and CEO of FastCall, and I'm going to do a deep dive into FastCall inbound call routing. So it's June, and this is the most recent version of FastCall, version 2.50. And I am logged in, and I'm going to show you, start with a report. So this is a report I have of my inbound calls. FastCall inbound calls, and there's a sample of this report in the package. I think I may have added a few extra fields to my version of the report, but like any Salesforce report, you're going to customize this as you like. My particular report, there's a few phone numbers that I've filtered out, but essentially what you're going to see here, and this is really the advantage of having your inbound routing in Salesforce and FastCall, is that you're going to get a report of not only your inbound calls, but also your voicemail will be attached to your Salesforce task and your missed calls. So those are really the advantages of having your inbound call routing in addition to your outbound call routing in Salesforce. So you'll see here we have obviously the date and time of the call, the duration, the number that was called from, the caller ID, the number that they called to, if you have multiple numbers set up in FastCall. Of course, the activity type is a call. The call type is inbound, and I've used that to filter this report, so these are only my inbound calls. I've added these two extra fields to this particular report for ACD. You may not be using that, and ACD is an upgrade to our Sales Plus edition, but I'll talk about that in a second. When a call comes in on the ACD, which stands for Automatic Call Distribution, sometimes we also call it just inbound call distribution, we're going to tell you the position of the call in round robin. So if there's sort of 5 users in round robin, this was the first leg. There would be a second, third, fourth, fifth, and then we'll tell you whether the round robin call was missed or answered. So it's some additional information you will get on an ACD call. If the inbound call is a voicemail, there's a checkbox here, and then of course if the call is either recorded and or voicemail, you'll see that here on your task record. And this is a report of my Salesforce tasks. When we're able to look up the either the contact or the lead, you're going to see that here. So not all of the inbound calls that we're able to match a contact or a lead, but when there is a match, you're going to see that lookup here. And then, as I mentioned, we could drill into any one of these particular calls, and we're just going to go to the task. And then when we go to the task, a lot like what a task looks like for an outbound call, so that same basic data that we saw in the report. So call recording is the same basic that we saw in our report. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to bring in an inbound call, and we'll see that, so I'm going to use my mobile phone, and I'm going to call into a FastCall assigned number. The numbers that we use for inbound do have to be assigned by Twilio. So there's my soft phone ringing now. You'll see here, so there's soft phones ringing now. So I'm going to answer the call. It's the caller ID. I will answer that call. And then you'll see here, so the call came in. I just ended it for convenience, but the call came in here. It showed that there was a match to a record here, so I click on that record. I also have the option to create a new record if there is not a match. So here I am. I found a match, and here I am on the record that came in. So pretty straightforward. I'm in Sales Console, which we really recommend highly for all of your. We love Sales Console for all of our Salesforce activity. It's great for outbound. It's specifically good for inbound because it really manages the ability to pop that inbound call. So I could still be on the record where I was when the call came in, and I was very easily able to pop that record. And that's not something you can do in a standard Salesforce page. So Sales Console is really good at that. So a couple of things to look at. The user settings for console for inbound are managed here. And inbound is something specifically that the user needs to set up because there's some specific settings for the user, like voicemail, that are set up by the user, and then the application is initially set up by the admin, but I'll start here for the user. So the inbound would be here under the inbound tab. That's the inbound phone number. In our sales edition, there is one phone number per user, and then we give you two options for inbound routing. overflow, which enable us to add 2 phones. So if I put my office phone in here and said ring time, and then I added, we would essentially overflow from one to the other. You can overflow 2 phones, so it's going to ring the soft phone for 15 seconds, then office. And then I do have call recording enabled, and I have voicemail enabled. So after in this setup, it would take voicemail. I could also use simul ring. So if I deleted this and I came down here and I said office and mobile together, and let's say I said 15 seconds for that, and I added. So in this case, it's going to ring the soft phone first for 15 seconds, and then it's going to simul ring office and mobile. So you can add the combination here that you want to add. And I mentioned voicemail. We do give you 2 options for voicemail. This is a recorded message, or I can also, if I delete this recorded message, there is an option for text-to-speech. The way we have this set up is if there's a recorded message, you don't see the option for text-to-speech, and if there's text-to-speech, you don't see the option for recorded messages. But there is both options here, and this has to be enabled. This also has to be enabled by the admin. So in order for the user to set up voicemail, the admin has to enable this. Same for true as for call recording. So this is what the user does here in that inbound tab. And I mentioned before for the admin, we're going to come over here to our phone settings, and we're going to provision inbound phone numbers, and that's done here. So you provision your inbound phone number. We have some information on how to provision a number off on a separate video, and some separate documentation. But the inbound number is provisioned here, and it's assigned to a user. So you see assigned to me, and it's done here. The other option is to assign numbers. So for example, this number is assigned to an ACD. And again, we have a separate video and some separate documentation on ACD, but that's this sort of all managed here by the admin in the phone number tab. And then there's some inbound call distribution info here. Important if your users are using an office phone or a mobile phone, but a hard phone to receive calls, they can be added here, or they can be added by the user in the user tab. And I think that's sort of it. And if you are, again, not to go into any detail on ACD, but that would be set up here. So inbound call routing. You do provision a number with Twilio. You are able to transfer an existing number to Twilio. There is no inbound call routing with FastCall without Twilio. We do have to control the phone number. That's very important. But you'll end up with all of your reporting of your answered calls, your missed calls, the inbound call pop, your voicemail. It's all logged in Salesforce, and all that is super. So if I'll just do one more call so we can see that here. So here again, I'm in. So the call popped in here. So the call pops in. If I decline it, goes right to voicemail. I answer it, and it's going to take me to. It's going to take me back to that search page again, where again I can either create a new record or assign that call. Inside the widget itself, so I can go in and then on the inbound, we do have a separate set of call results here. So I can say this is a customer service call, inbound sales lead, personal call, wrong number. We'll say that was an inbound sales leads. Now that call is logged. Inside the widget itself, you see this little option here. So all my recent calls are here. So all my recent inbound calls are here. If I click on an inbound call, if there was a voicemail, they'll show a link to voicemail. So there's a link to the record. I can do a quick callback here. I can see the task. Let's see if we can pick another call. Really all the same thing. So that in my recent inbound calls are there, outbound as well. But there you have it. So and again, just to say, I am here in Salesforce Sales Console, which is awesome. I do almost all of my work in Sales Console. Can't recommend it enough. So hopefully you have a chance to explore our inbound call routing, and you. If you have any additional questions, just shoot us an email to support@fastcall.com, and we'll be happy to help get you set up.